one of the things that's so damning is your discussion in great detail of how we treat animals for food, and also how we treat animals for testing. But I think that we don't have enough time to go on both. But I just thought maybe, because the real facts of how of the pastoral idea of animals being farmed and used is not really true in factory farming. So maybe you could give one or two examples, because I think it's important to get them out.
Absolutely, and I think the farming area is the one to choose, both because it's vastly larger, something like 9 billion animals raised and killed for food each year in the United States. Plus, it's the one that you can all do something about quite directly in terms of not supporting it with your consumer spending. So let's just take some examples. One of the largest number of these animals are chickens, and people think chickens are stupid and so on. But in fact, chickens are also social beings, and they can show that they are quite aware of various things, and they can suffer in various ways. And a lot of people say to me, when I talk about being a vegetarian or a vegan, they say, I don't eat red meat. Well, I think in terms of animal suffering, eating chicken is the worst thing to do, because 99.9% of the chickens produced in the United States are factory farmed. That is, they lead their lives inside vast sheds that might hold 20,000 birds. They're crowded together so that if you look at one of these sheds when they're getting ready to be killed, it's just like a carpet of white feathers. They are bred to grow extremely fast. They're killed at 6 weeks, 42 days of age. They're basically babies, but they're very large babies. And they're bred to grow so fast that quite often their legs will collapse under them. Their immature leg bones can't hold the weight. Now, there's no individual attention for these birds. You've got 20,000 birds in a shed. Nobody is going to notice that this bird can't walk, that it's just sitting on the litter. So what will happen to it? It can't get up and walk over to where the water is or where the food is. So it's going to starve to death or die of thirst. And that, because there's such a vast industry, billions of birds, we're talking about hundreds of millions of chickens in the United States that die of thirst or hunger each year. And even if they don't, there's the crowding. The air is full of ammonia. If you walk into one of these sheds, it really gets in your eyes immediately. And then they're just rounded up in the quickest possible way because they're so cheap. And they're trucked. You might have seen the trucks, how they're crammed. They're trucked to slaughter. They're not all pre-stunned because, again, there's so much pressure on doing it so fast that some of them will miss the stunner and have their throats cut while they're fully conscious. So it's really a disgusting business, I think. And anybody with any concern for animal suffering ought not to be supporting it.
I mean, yeah. I don't really think that was disgusting enough, so let's go a little more. Because we talked about an example this afternoon that was really about a related bird, since it's coming up for Thanksgiving, which you're all going to enjoy. Let's talk turkey.
Yeah. So turkeys are also factory farmed in large sheds in pretty similar sorts of conditions. But there's one particular peculiarity that a lot of Americans don't know about when they're thinking about their Thanksgiving turkey, and that is that the standard factory farm turkey, which again is 99% of all the turkeys sold in America, has been bred to have a breast so large that it cannot mate. The male actually just physically cannot get it into the female. So how is it that there are more turkeys of these breeds? Because there are unfortunate workers whose sole job it is all day is to masturbate male turkeys and collect the semen, and other workers whose job it is to grab the female turkeys and inject the semen into them. I have a friend and colleague, Jim Mason, with whom I wrote a book called The Ethics of What We Eat. And so that he could really speak about this experience firsthand, he applied for a job as a turkey inseminator. He lasted 1 day in that job. He said it was the worst, filthiest, hardest day's work he ever did. And he was at the bottom of the pecking order. Everybody was taking it out on him for not working fast enough, which meant he had to grab the turkeys faster, be rough to them. These turkeys, especially the females, know what's going to happen and they don't like it, so they're struggling. He's grabbing them, trying to inseminate them, and if he doesn't do it fast enough, he gets kicked and abused by the people above him. So, of course, you know, not Jim, but most of the workers at the bottom of that pecking order will take it out on the birds as well. So, you know, think about that before you order your Thanksgiving turkey. Again, do you really want to participate in this practice, which is created just so that Americans can eat more turkey breast meat?
Yeah, I mean, you're very strong. I mean, the point is, you say this is undeniably immoral, and
yeah,
the moral
because,
obligation.
Because, you know, we're going against the greatest interest of these animals in not suffering and having a reasonable life, just so that we can have a somewhat cheaper product.
And, you know, I think you say, until we boycott meat and all other products of animal factories, we are, each one of us, contributing to the continued existence, prosperity, and growth of factory farming and all other cruel practices in rearing animals for food, and that's immoral.